Welcome back to the seventh grade mustache. Today we'll be speaking about sacrifice, the sacrifice, and what that means to you. Many times you will find that you have given up one thing in favor of the other. To simplify this discussion, we're going to break it down into the body, the mind, and the spirit, and the different ways you have sacrificed at each level. To begin with, you can think of the things that you have given up in favor of something else. For example, choosing necessity over vanity. Many times that manifests as saying, well, I can pay my rent or I can go get a new pair of shoes. No, that new pair of shoes can wait until after you pay your rent and you get some money after that. Now, you may say, oh, these are poor people problems. No, 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 no.
Nah,
People sacrifice at every level financially, choosing necessity over vanity. So it's not just a poor person problem.
look, I sacrifice my waistline all the time. I'm an emotional eater. Like you know that.
No
Okay,
shit.
I don't need to be eating. I don't need to be eating these motherfuckers, but you do it anyway. Or instead of just having one piece, you eat too much. You're sacrificing the wrong thing. You know this is not healthy. You know that white flour causes cancer. We know that, but you do it anyway. So if you're going to make a sacrifice, why not sacrifice for something important? Why not sacrifice for your betterment? Why don't I sacrifice eating, save money, make myself healthy? We sacrifice all the time. Sometimes we sacrifice for the wrong reasons.
Yes, indeed. You know, talking about that, the waistline, well, people are willing to sacrifice good health over the course of a lifetime of bad decisions for
Yeah.
a lifetime of mouth pleasure. Mouth pleasure has caused a lot of people grief when you look at it in the long run because that person just wants that euphoric fix by eating some type of food that is delicious to them but it has zero caloric value. These people that will just add tons and tons of weight onto their body and begin hating themselves, and everything becomes an
Mm.
emotional
Mm-hmm.
reaction. And it's all things that you did to yourself. Nobody did this to you. These are things that you chose to do. But had you chosen to sacrifice that little bit of mouth pleasure for discipline, see, discipline is the
Yes.
pathway to sacrifice. Discipline,
People avoid discipline. They talk like it's a bad thing. Like they don't want to admit that they didn't exercise discipline or they didn't make a good decision. No. In fact, the word discipline has been vilified over the past, what, 12, 15 years or so.
mhm,
And so when you even hear the word, is oh, discipline. But the fact of the matter, when you were a kid and you wanted to become a martial artist or you saw something, you knew that person had discipline. They had sacrifice. They sacrificed something to be the best at something else. And I get it, once you get older, okay, cool. But the whole idea is like when you read about these great men and these great women that started these companies and they're billionaires, they sacrificed. But the fact of the matter is, they had discipline and they told themselves, like, you know what? I don't need to go out and party. I don't need to have sex with all these different people. I don't need to do all this cocaine. Well, some of the people did cocaine, but the fact is this: is that they had discipline and they said this. I can sacrifice this for that, or this will be there later on.
well,
And
it's funny that you bring up that a person that operates at that level personally and professionally, because there was a study done within the past decade, and this study was done with military personnel at very high levels. The sports coaches at the championship level, coaches that win multiple championships, in professional sports and collegiate sports. And they did a study with these people, these military operators, and these sports professionals, and they all said the same thing at their time of death. When they got close to death or at their time of death, they all said the same thing. I wish I had spent more time with my family. And you look at these people, these men and these women who are highly accomplished and they have all these great things and these accolades and they're worshipped by all these millions of people, and yet they're flawed because they did not live a life of balance. They did not. Oh,
that's
wait. Hold on.
that's
Hold on.
complicated.
Hold on. Hold
It's
on.
very
Hold on. No. No.
complicated.
No. No. Yeah, I'll simplify it because that person chose to live at an extreme. This person chose to be an extreme winner. Now, An extreme winter can be a great thing, or it can be highly detrimental to a marriage, to a friendship, to a parenthood. So these people
But
are
you said
hold on.
you
These
said
people
some
are
good
out of
piece
balance
though.
because they're going so far in one direction after one thing. They are sacrificing their family ties. They're sacrificing the love of their life.
Possibly, possibly. But you said that their flaw was what propelled them. You're saying that most people, when they have a flaw, like it's a drug habit, it fucks their life up. This is the flip side of that. Their flaw is their need for competition, their need for success, their need for whatever, and it feeds them. And that flaw, that's a flaw, supposedly. I don't know if it's a flaw or not. Second, what I was going to say is, in this day and age, everybody says that bullshit about family, family, family. I remember being a kid and you watch the Super Bowl. Like I remember Reno Riggins. Well, he was the fullback for the Redskins, and I remember he's like, man, why'd you come back to football? Shit, I can't make money doing nothing else. Back then, when these guys won the Super Bowl, this is the greatest thing in my life. Now everybody says next to the birth of my daughter, this is the best thing ever. Like, y'all motherfuckers full of shit. Do you know anybody can have a kid? You got retards having kids. You got people with mental disability having 9 and 10 kids. But how many people win the Super Bowl? So I get it. You're trying to tell me it's flawed, but I'm just saying this day and age, we love to talk about this family stuff and some of this other stuff. But you know as well as I do, some of these families give you more emotional baggage than they're supposed to. So, many people use that success as an escape. A lot of those people who are successful had shitty family lives, especially as a child, beaten, molested, whatever. And so this was their escape. That's why they were so. That's why they were so extreme. Many of these people were exposed to stuff they shouldn't have been exposed to. But and again, what I'm saying, we're still talking about sacrifice, and they sacrifice one for the other. But sometimes what they really what they didn't sacrifice, they sacrificed their past. And what they did was, they used that to maintain their sanity. This quest that they're on is to maintain sanity. What we like I said, in this day and age, whenever somebody does something awesome and they win, the whole thing is next to the birth of my child, next to my marriage, dude. No, hold that shit. Say that. Hey, I'm gonna fuck up everything else, but I'm the best golfer ever. I'm gonna fuck up everything else. I'm the best quarterback in the world. And hell, well, Brady ain't. I guess he's the best quarterback and he's a good husband and father. What the fuck? But
Okay,
what,
that's a
what I'm
balanced life.
yeah,
That's a balanced life.
it's
That's what I'm talking about. He lives a life of
it
balance.
is possible. Yeah, it is possible. It is very much possible. But I'm saying that some people they run from the responsibility and they use that shit as an excuse. You can have balance, but the thing is when you make that sacrifice. Prime example when I don't want to get I hate giving numbers, but when I read an article, I read this article years ago, and they were talking about the whole comparison was to absentee fathers, and that's the whole argument they always use with black people. But whenever you see these Mexican people come from Mexico, this man will have a whole family back home, and he's sending his money back home, supporting his family. He's making a sacrifice. I don't get to see my wife and kids, but I'm making sure that they're okay. And that's a huge sacrifice. But these kids understand that, hey, dad is out there making money. Anytime a father was like killed in war or in an act of valor, those kids turn out fine. So why all of a sudden, when it comes to the black community and there's an absentee father, all of a sudden the reason that these black kids are in gangs is because they don't. You full of shit. What
Wait,
it is that
wait. It's not that simple because you leave,
it,
but you're leaving out the element of of genocide. Of the thing is, man, you're leaving out all this other stuff that's been done to the black community. So you just can't say it's just that one element.
no, that is my exact point. That a father not being there is not the reason for that family's problem. It's all the other shit. It's the systemic racism. It's the poverty. It's the fact that you can't inherit anything because your parents didn't have. It's all these other factors, but instead they want to pin it on the absentee father. That's bullshit. If a father not being there doesn't eliminate the family. People have been whenever we talk about these great explorers and people like that, they would leave their family. They would have 2 or 3 kids. Columbus had kids all over the place, but it, a father not being there didn't wreck them. You know what I'm saying? Maybe give them a few daddy issues. Shit, I had daddy issues. But what I'm saying is that when you know that your father made a sacrifice and he went to war, when you know your father made a sacrifice, he's working in another country, providing for you, it's a whole different element. And what I'm saying is that we're talking about sacrifice, and you have people making real sacrifices. You have people coming from different countries in Asia, start a business over here, then bring everybody else over here because
Okay.
it's bad over there.
Okay.
So,
The thing is, check this out. So I had this conversation with this person a couple of days ago, and we were talking about sacrifice, and he said, "Well, sacrifice, that doesn't sound like sacrifice to me, when it applies to another person or a person outside of myself." He said, a sacrifice is only relevant when it relates to me. And I'm like, that's because you were speaking like a self-centered,
a selfish
a
child,
selfish
damn.
little child. I said, stop, 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 stop. I said, I mean, listen, normally I don't, it doesn't, a person's age doesn't matter to me when it comes to intellect, because I've met many people that are like wise and dumb in any age bracket. But this time I had to ask this motherfucker how old he was and shit. And he said 26. I said, aha. I said, listen, man. I said, you know what, dude? You haven't lived enough, or you have lived this long and you have walked around with your eyes closed. You might as well be blind, because you have
You were
not been
protected.
learned,
You
you
were in a
have
cocoon.
not been paying attention to the lessons and the signs that are all around you, because they have been there. I don't have to be around you to know that those signs have been there to try and wake you up out of this egghead mindset that you're in, where you're self-centered and you're a spoiled little child. I said, there's no way you can be so single-minded and not use some type of objectivity. I mean, think about what a sacrifice is. And I use different examples. I said, your parents sacrificed for you. He's like, no, my parents didn't sacrifice for me. He said, he's an immigrant.
Okay.
He said, my parents didn't sacrifice for me. He's like, my mother, she liked fucking, so she chose to have me, and this and that and the third. I'm said, okay. Okay. All right. All right. You're just a shithead. Okay. You're just a little
No,
shithead. I see what's going on here.
it's deeper than that. Is the fact that he, for some reason, whatever reason, he's making it seem like whatever he's done, it, whatever they did
He wants to
didn't affect
take
him
credit for everything that he
for
has done.
everything.
And the crazy part,
Even
the crazy part, his life hasn't amounted to more than a pair of pliers. You know what I'm saying? This motherfucker doesn't have a box of pliers to call his own. You know what I mean? And yet he wants to take credit for
but
all that shit. So hold on, you want to get
you have
credit for having
you
nothing?
so you want credit for your mom getting knocked up because she liked having sex. Like, how did you arrive at that conclusion? So you actually, did you talk to your mom about that? Did she tell you like, hey, I enjoyed sex? So how do you know that she wasn't raped? How do you know you weren't a product of some terrible shit she just ain't told you? People make sacrifices all the time, and just because you're unaware of it, you're oblivious to it,
That's
doesn't mean it doesn't
exactly
exist.
what I said. I said just the fact that
Uh,
you close your mind to all these miracles, to all these triumphs of the human spirit, does not mean that sacrifices are not relevant outside of your own consciences or your own choice. Don't be an egghead. Like,
Look, but you get that all the time. Whenever you talk to these people who like God doesn't exist, I'm like, dude, you witnessed 4 or 5 miracles, but because you're no, that can be
no,
explained away.
no, no, no,
Look,
no, because you want Popular Mechanics to create an article on it, okay? And that's the only time you'll
yes,
believe it, okay?
you want
You're
somebody smarter than you to say it's
because
okay.
you
That's all you
pray
want.
at the altar of science, all right? And you want a scientist to explain God to you, because you don't listen to your
Uh,
own spirits, because your
to your own
internal
experience.
compass is broken, and you therefore need other people to tell you the time of day in a room full of clocks.
Look, let's talk about sacrifice. Let's talk about Martin Luther King, Malcolm X. You know,
Oh, there you go. Let's go in. Go, go.
did those people know that they were going to be killed that day? Many people said Malcolm knew he was dying. Malcolm had some kind of premonition. Some
And
people talk
Martin.
about. I don't know if
And
it's true.
Martin knew.
But they never not went there. Martin had been stabbed before. Remember they talked. I remember being in like fourth grade, and our teacher in fourth grade talked about him being stabbed in the chest, and they left the knife in. That's the only reason he survived, because if they pulled it out, he would have bled out. That's even though you know that you're going to get attacked by a mob of white people, even though you know that people don't agree with you, they still went out there and showed up every day. So when you talk about black leadership, I get what people are saying, but let me explain something to you. That the general populace of black people were more intelligent, so they understood what these people were saying. They understood that Malcolm knew that, hey man, I got white folks after me and black folks after me. But he didn't care because it was more about the truth, and it was more about
Listen,
helping his people.
they did what they did out of love. They did it because they love black people. They went up there and they took those bullets and died like men, like kings. They died like
Didn't
kings
cry.
for their subjects. Okay? Bruh, they knew the cost of it. They knew the cost of that life. They knew the cost of the words. The weight of the world was on them. And they still chose to carry it. Those are kings, man.
And
You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
But they knew they knew they
but
had to
you
sacrifice
take your whole
themselves.
family. You take your whole family with you. I love y'all. I love you so much that I'm doing this.
Let's
I
listen.
love you
I
so much.
love you so much that I'm going to forego giving you a normal life, a quiet life of mediocrity for a life that is filled with sleepless nights and Molotov cocktails through the windows, okay, and
All
bullets.
for one reason, all for freedom. So that if I can't be free, you'll be free because of my actions.
There it
That's a
is.
sacrifice.
There it is. Now
So
listen,
so
and then hold on, but not just civil rights leaders. Black parents talk about sacrifice all the time. This is something that is generational, that is traditional, that these conversations happen in black households, talking about
that was
sacrifice.
my Hey, Mr. Roscoe, that was my point earlier when you talk about missing fathers. That's not the reason for the problems. Damn, I hate when I can't remember where I read it, but it's a known fact that the stories of your family, when your kids know the stories of their family, like, I was raised by my Aunt Essie. You know that she was 104 when she died. So I knew the different stories. I knew who was who. When your kids know the stories of their family, they behave completely different. They have a different mindset. When you know where, okay, this person was Blackfoot Indian, this person was Cherokee, this person was African, this person came
You know
from
what
here,
that
this person
is?
came from
You know
West
you know
Africa.
what that is, but you know what that is though? That is self-love because you have a
Yeah,
self-image that is created by the orators in your family, the griots, the storytellers in your family.
yeah, like the storytellers, yes.
And sometimes that role changes because sometimes you don't get all the truth from your mother or your father. Sometimes it doesn't all come from them. It might be your uncle or an aunt. They'll tell you, "Sit down, baby. I want to tell you about your people." And they'll go in and they start to tell you your lineage, and they'll tell you
Look,
your grandfather married Mary James
it goes.
Sanderson.
I remember, like, my Aunt Essie. You can ask her anybody in the family, what's their last name? Becton. What's their last name? Such and such. Because she knew right away, like, okay, and that's how. And she goes, they cousins. Who cut? Yeah, because such and such married such and such. They first cousin. I'm like, what? How they first? Because you got to remember, first cousins is this, this, and this. And she's explaining stuff, and you didn't realize, like, oh damn, I guess it is cousin. So
Whoa.
what she's telling you is your history, and what happens is these people ignore their history because of lust. See, that's the opposite of a
Yeah.
sacrifice. That's the opposite of it.
That no, no, that's
It's
sloth.
so
That's sloth.
yeah, yes, yeah. But the point being is that when you understand the sacrifices that were made, and that directly relates to you being who you are and your success. And so you understand sacrifice, and you're willing to make it for some things, and you're not willing to make it for others because you're like, okay, this person right here, it's not worth sacrificing everything, because that's what a relationship between a man and woman. You'll sacrifice your friendship with your homeboys to be with this woman, and maybe she ain't worth it. But then again, maybe she is worth it, and maybe the homeboys you outgrew years ago. So that's the
Dude, there was
balance.
a cat. There was a cat. I'm not gonna name his name, but this, like, yo, whenever we would go over there to go see this dude, we knew that we had a certain amount of time to get the fuck up out of there because once a chick showed up, you had to go, and like that's man code. That's man code. A
Yeah,
man, you
it's called respect, respect, respect.
it's
Yeah,
like, bro, I'm working on something here. Y'all got to bounce, and that's but you know that, you know what I mean, but that's a bit of a sacrifice, but it's also an agreement amongst men. A silent agreement is like, get the fuck out. It's time to go. I'm trying to make some shit happen
but
here.
but see again. So look, there's somebody else. He is a perpetual little brother, because one
Uh,
time I had company. Perpetual little brother. Not a little brother in the sense that he is an older brother. Little brother in the sense that
cock blocker.
his mentality. Yes, a cock blocker. But what it is that he's a little brother, so he's looking up to you. He lives vicariously through you. Your accomplishments he's mad because he doesn't feel that he could do the same thing. So, like I said, I remember this incident back during the first PlayStation days, because T Bone was there and this other dude was there, and my company comes over. So T is leaving. Like, hey, and I'm like, man, you ain't gotta go. And the other person was just being obnoxious. I'm like, okay, I'll be right back. So I went upstairs, trounced her because she was about to go to the airport. So she wanted so I trounced her and like and so I go back downstairs. He's like, we stopped you from having like, no, you didn't. No, you have no control over
That's
my
some real
life.
hoe ass
It,
shit. That's some hoe ass shit right there.
it, you know the person.
But
So,
not, but
but
nothing was sacrificed there.
yeah, that's the whole point. Can't nobody can't nobody make or break me. Nobody can stop me from can't nobody make me sacrifice something. And I wasn't about to sacrifice her for him, but you got to understand that you have to be in control of that situation. Nobody dictates to you. Well, I take it back. People can intimidate you. People can make you
If
feel
you
bad. They
let
can
them,
guilt
if
you into
you
sacrifice.
allow them.
Yeah, and so that's why it's important to again we love to use this word discernment to discern like, hey, you know what? Is this worth it or not? Is this woman worth it? Is this man worth it? Is this relationship worth it? You know, look, people love to get people blackmail you all the time. That's one of the things that we were talking about in the other broadcast. Like, can you imagine somebody saw your porn search and use that against you? Like, hey, you're looking at gay porn. If you don't do this, you can't let that happen. So you control your sacrifices. And the thing is that people don't want to recognize that a sacrifice is the idea is for something better. You sacrifice this here for something better. And so when we talk about these kings and these queens too that forfeited their life or that they did Harriet Tubman sacrifice, helping all them people. She's what she say? I could have saved 1,000 more if they knew they were slaves. She knew, like, okay, I can't convince these motherfuckers to come with me, but the ones that want to come, I will sacrifice and make sure they make it.
Right.
So you have to recognize that. Just like we were joking earlier. If it, again, I don't know who to attribute it to, but the saying, if you're too dumb to know when you've been insulted, it doesn't matter what you know. That's the situation. These folks don't realize your boy that was a complete shithead, as you put it. He was happy in his ignorance. He wore his ignorance like a badge, not knowing what happened for him to get here, not knowing what was done, or maybe there is nobody great in his family. Maybe that's what he's saying. That maybe he found out his mom was a hoe. But you know what? I knew a chick whose mother was a prostitute, but her mother took damn good care of her. That was her trade. Unfortunately, that's her trade. Fine, that's what it is. But she raised her children. She provided for her children. So what it is that you're more worried about your embarrassment than you're worried about what she had to go through to make. She had an ultimate sacrifice. You just don't see it that way.
Okay.
So yeah,
Let's talk about things that are lost in the paper chase. So, foregoing sleep in favor of getting money, or foregoing sleep in favor of getting home in a hurry, driving home a long
yeah, yeah.
haul to go and be with your loved one. So, before we get to paper chase, let's talk about for sacrificing your bodily needs in favor of something else. So, for example, like I just said, you can forego sleep, an extra 2 miles or 2 hours on the road. You can just stay up
Yeah.
a little bit longer and then get home so you can be with your loved one. So that is an example of just sacrificing something somewhat small but yet necessary. Now, when it comes to sleep, in regard to the paper chase, I've seen people work two jobs back to back, both of them 10-hour
Yes.
shifts. And these people are wearing themselves thin. And then you ask yourself, like, what are you doing this for?
But hold it. But that's a sacrifice. Hopefully for money later on. The idea. Hopefully they were doing it when they were young, because that's kind of how I was when I was young. You know me. I was doing 16-hour shifts like nobody's business. Now that I'm older, you should be financially sound. You should have your family established. That kind of stuff. I don't. I'm working on it. But the fact is, that's the idea. If I had invested that money in my future, cool. But as you get older, you pick your sacrifices. You're like, you know what? It ain't worth it. I'd rather go home to my wife. It ain't worth it. Let me go get my kids. And so that's the idea, is that a sacrifice. When you're young, you can do that shit. I remember they had asked Angela Davis what happened to all the black revolutionaries. She said they had kids. Well, once you have kids, all of a sudden this shit changes for a lot of
Yep.
people. That's what made Malcolm and King so special. Is
Because
that
they had
when they
kids
had
and they're
kids,
like, damn
they
that,
grinded
I'm gonna
harder.
fucking make this shit
No,
happen.
no, it wasn't damn
No, no,
that.
no, no,
That
no,
was
no,
their
no. When I
inspiration
say damn
to
that, I
fuck.
mean damn that fear,
Yeah,
damn that,
yeah, 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 yeah,
like
yeah.
damn being afraid. It's like I'm doing this for them. But
It,
but see, here's another example though. Like one time, I had rented a car to drive out of town, and I drove out of town, and I went to this fucking party, and it was great. And Motherfuckers talking about, yeah, take some shrooms, man, and drive back. I'm like, kick rocks. I gotta drive 4.5 hours. Y'all motherfuckers don't. So I'm driving. I'm on my way back, man. I fell asleep behind the wheel. So this is
How
the
many
crazy part.
times?
Listen now, when you fall asleep behind the wheel, there's that point where you jerk back into consciousness and you're like, oh, and and
Dude,
you feel like this complete unawareness of how long you have been asleep, because there's that moment where you're like, you slide into that easy, relaxed consciousness, and you're like, oh, this feels good, and then your spirit, slaps the shit out of you, says, wake up, dummy, you're about to die, and you fucking
I,
jump up, and you're like, and man, I saw the cars were going straight. There was cars a half a mile in front of me and a half a mile behind me. I was way up 95 up north and shit. And dude, I freaked out. I almost ripped the steering wheel out of the steering column. I grabbed it so hard, man. Oh man, but see, that's me
I,
sacrificing.
I,
That's me sacrificing so that I don't get
I,
charged extra for a damn rental car.
okay, this is the worst falling asleep while driving story. Like, you ever fall asleep? Okay, you ever stop, pull over, and you dream but you're still driving,
Oh,
and so you
oh.
wake up because oh my god! Hey, check this out. This is a fucked up ass story. So rest in peace, Day Day. So Day Day had a white roommate because I went to black college. He had a white roommate, and this dude was all in. He was into drugs on a different level. You know, not just smoking weed. He was just like anything. So he decided to go to rehab. He's like, "Hey, I'll give you $300 if y'all drive me to rehab." I'm like, he asked me to drive him, but I wasn't going without. I'm like, look, I don't know this motherfucker. So this is why I had a pickup truck, you know, a bench seat. It was a stick,
The
and so I'm
Nissan.
driving this dude. Mazda, no. It was my Mazda. It was after that. It was my Mazda because I got a Mazda after that. So we're driving. We're driving from Oklahoma, someplace in Kansas, and he's telling us about
Damn.
he's in rehab, and Christy Alley was in rehab with him,
Get
and
the
this is the
fuck out of
second
here.
time he's in rehab, and so we're driving, and I'm exhausted. They sleep, so I pull over, and I'm like, fuck it, at some rest area so I can sleep, and I forgot that I went to sleep. So I'm dreaming that I'm still driving, and I'm seeing like rattlesnakes and polar bears on the interstate, and I'm
What
scared to
the
death,
fuck?
and I'm doing 95, and I wake up, and I'm like, fuck it, let's get the fuck out of here, because I don't know what kind of drugs this dude did, but I had some kind of like secondhand shit, some residual. This nigga was so high, and like he would
Got
explain to
contact
us like,
guy.
hey, dude, he said, man, you know when they put you in a decon and you burning off fat, and you know fat is stored in your, I mean drugs are stored in your fat, you'll get super high. I'm like, dude, his stories made me high. So I'm literally, I went to sleep and woke up like that, where I'm dreaming about crazy ass shit. I'm like, fuck it, let's go. We drove, dropped that motherfucker off. We don't know if he lived or died. We just dropped him off at some kind of fucking farm and left. But yeah, that that was a sacrifice for
You dropped him
$300.
off at a meth lab.
This is before meth. This is 96, 95. This is like,
Oh,
before.
it was just iced at that point.
Yeah. So, but you got to remember, meth been around for like since the 60s.
Yeah, it was
They've been
called crank.
crank. Yep. Um, hey, another sacrifice about the work. When I first started working at my job, I'm making $21 an hour. That's a lot of money to me. So they had holiday pay. So that's when you get like triple time and a half and shit. So I met this stripper, and then little Kim had these big ass titties, and she invited me over to her house for like Labor Day or some shit. So I said, well, look, I got to work in the morning. I get off at 3. I'll be at your place. Well, they forced me to stay. So I'm talking to my homeboy. I said, man, how much we getting paid? He's like, what? I kept asking him because I was trying to justify working this overtime and not going out with this stripper. So the next day I said, yeah, man, I was supposed to meet up with Kim. He's like, oh, is that what you get? I'm like, yeah, I did the math. I knew how much I was making. I'm making like $600-700 for a day. This is my first time doing that shit. So I'm like, was it worth not fucking her? Yeah, it was. I'm sure I would have caught something. So that's a sacrifice. I sacrificed a stripper for a couple $100. So yes, it's usually the other way around. But that's a sacrifice. I know
All
it's a
right.
bad story. That's my
Yeah,
life. That's my life.
that's a
That's,
horrible story, but anyway. All right, man. So next, let's move on to the mind. An example of sacrificing for in the mental realm or in the mental state is removing people from your inner circle that are toxic to you, that are toxic to your mind and your thoughts. It could be an abusive relationship. It could be pessimistic friends that don't want anything for themselves or for you. When you divorce yourself from friends, when you divorce yourself from people, you remove that person and you remove the thing that is causing this chain of thoughts that brings you down, that kills your buzz, that harshes your mellow.
Mm. I think what people don't realize is that you actually can become addicted to somebody. You know, addiction ain't just drugs, but there's a chemical reaction when somebody's around you, whether they're good or bad for you. And so sometimes you become hooked on that reaction, and you don't realize that person can be making you depressed, or that person it could just be sex, but there's nothing there's no healthy exchange. It could be anything. And people don't understand that, and they don't recognize that this that's always, well, why'd you stay with her, or how could you be with him if he does this, or it's because that they're so used to that, or they could have tore them down too. We all know people tear each other down to control them, and that could be the case. You don't think that you can get anybody better, but sometimes you sacrifice your well-being to maintain an unhealthy relationship, and that shit is fucking that's just dangerous, man.
Yeah, no doubt. The the people in your life that, sometimes, for example, we talk about Stockholm syndrome and
Yeah.
how a person is just, enduring basically a form of mental slavery. And then at some point, either they do or they don't become aware of this and wake up to it. But if they do, they can make the choice to remove this person and sacrifice this, whatever need this person filled for you, for peace of mind, for
Yes.
solitude, for, greater opportunities in your life on a relationship level. I mean,
And
I've seen.
sometimes
Go ahead.
No, I was saying sometimes that brainwashing wasn't even done by that person. Many times the brainwashing might have been done by your parents or a sibling or something. And so then you enter in this abusive relationship already confused that you can't do any better, that you're lucky to have that person. We always assume that the person that is causing your pain is the one who's fucked you up. That fucking up could have been before that. So you could have been taught to sacrifice your happiness just to maintain an unhealthy relationship. You could have observed that from your parents, or you could have been taught that in a high school relationship, and you're taking that baggage into the next relationship, not realizing that you're sacrificing your happiness, your success, and everything else just because, well, I got somebody, or uh, look how my man looks, look how my bitch look, that kind of shit.
Yeah, yeah, no doubt. I mean, there's we can go on and on. There's many examples of this, but I've seen, a lot of people make these changes for the better and improve their mental state. I mean, there's, if you could see the the thought forms that people create around themselves based off of like miserable interactions with the people that are close to them,
Mm.
it would be polluted. You couldn't see from your hand in front of your face. There'd be so much, astral garbage, ever present. It'd be hard to see anything. But these mental sacrifices, they actually improve, your state of mind. For example, like once people can learn how to cleanse themselves from drugs and alcohol, that type of choice is a sacrifice that happens mentally first. There's those that say,
Yeah.
well, it's physical because you put the drink down. No, no, no. It starts in the mind. So when a person becomes sober and they choose to, choose a life of discipline,
Sobriety.
sobriety, they are sacrificing everything, every pleasure that they had from that substance, and in turn, they're in favor that they're choosing a life of control, of self control, of just improvement, of self improvement, and that's a huge sacrifice that like people who are imprisoned by their own desires,
Mm.
actually face.
It's a short term fix for probably a bigger hole in their spirit or their soul,
Mm.
and so they do that stuff just to feel better, and they momentarily feel better because it's easier to do that than it is to fix yourself. It's much easier to do these things, whether it's fucking, drinking, smoking weed or smoking crack or whatever. It's much easier than it is to actually change your surroundings. And the ideas, how many of these artists that we always hear about, rappers, singers, whatever, man, I perform better when I'm high. A lot of these comedians, I'm a better performer when I'm high. It's because they're trying to relax and they're trying to forget or ease the pain of something else. And they think some people, hell, Old Dirty was better when he was high. I'm sorry to say it, but the idea that the reason is that's not the real you. And sometimes we're afraid of the real us, or we don't like the real us. So that's why we do the things, do those behaviors. Yeah, look. I was in a bunch of bad relationships with women that weren't on my level because I didn't want to fix me. So I figured it was easier to fix somebody else than it is to fix myself because shit, I don't want to acknowledge those things. I don't want to come face to face with my whatever. So those situations exist. But some people, me was bad relationships, other people's is drugs.
You know
That
what?
shit is real.
There's other forms though of behavior that's self-destructive. I mean, there's mental behavior that is self-destructive. That a person who is not fully diagnosed as schizophrenic, or a person who
Yeah.
is not on medication. I'm just talking about your everyday average Joe
Mhm.
or Jane that's walking around with a defeatist mentality. And that's why like so many of these self-help books are sold, because people are looking to, change their lives. They're looking to change their reality or co-author their reality. And so therefore they're looking at the things that are flowing their thought processes, or like, these blockades that they place in front of themselves. I mean, these are just like bad habits that are taught or learned, early in life. But in discipline leads to simplicity. The Dead Prez, as this song says, discipline makes things easier. Organize your life. That song is so simple. It's like a mantra. And you repeat it over and over. And then you start to think about, how can I make my life simple? How can I simplify and remove the clutter? And then you have guys like, um, he's a speaker that a lot of people listen to. Jordan, not Jordan Maxwell. Jordan.
Which one? Joel Opstein or
No,
whatever his
no, no,
name
no,
is.
no.
Which one?
He's been on JRE a couple times, but anyway, he would talk about how if you clean up your room, start by cleaning up your room, and you can organize your life by doing that. He said once you remove the clutter from around your bed by cleaning up your bed, make your bed, and then clean up your room. Once you organize that, you can see everything in your immediate control, in your immediate existence clearly. And it's something so simple, but it's so true. Your parents tell you all the time, clean up your room, clean up your room. Yeah, they don't want their house to be messy. They don't want you to be a fucking slob. But they also know that like it leads to a orderly lifestyle. Order is
It's easier
okay.
to find shit.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
order
easier to
order
find
is
shit.
okay. Listen, listen. Everybody's like New World Order, Illuminati. Okay, cool. Cool, man. Great. The thing is though, is like some order is okay. All right? You don't want people just running butt naked through the streets with chainsaws, decapitating puppies. All right? You got to have some
Look,
kind of order.
what people are afraid of now is they're so worried about being a regiment. They're so worried about going against the grain, and not going against the grain, excuse me, being locked in and this, that, and other. And the truth of the matter is that they're less free. They're less free now than ever. And they don't even worry about freedom. They worry about convenience. They worry about, okay, so if people keep shooting people, let's ban guns. No, let's not shoot people. Let's have common sense. Let's not in their altercation with a gun that well, your life wasn't at stake. What it is that it's much easier for you to judiciate and do and litigate and all this other shit than it is for you to have a better intelligent life. You know what? I don't trust the way I raise my kids, so we need to have gun control because I know I was a shitty parent. Since I'm a shitty parent, let's make it so nobody can have it.
But you know what's on the flip
Yeah, that's
side of
what we.
that? But you know what's on the flip side of that though? The ghettos of the mind are created and populated by people who do not choose to think for themselves.
Yeah,
So, by foregoing free thinking for convenience and security, you give over your freedom.
rights, your freedom. Look, what it is people don't want to work at anything that seems kind of hard. We talked about it last time. Anything that seems a little bit, that's a lot of work. Fuck it. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Excuse me, if they
Okay.
don't want to be successful.
How many people do you know like that complain, and like I'll listen to it. I'll listen to it for a second, and then I'm like, okay, man, all right, that's enough. I can't, no more, no more. I don't want to hear anymore. I'm not gonna listen to this bullshit anymore. And then I just start going in because I let them like get it all out. But then it's not all out. They just keep going. They keep going and keep going. I'm like, all right, stop. You have a problem. You only want to view things in one spectrum, and you don't want to do anything about it. You enjoy just bitching about everything. We're going to stop
Everything.
that. I'm going to
Like,
stop
okay,
that
look,
right now.
are you gonna try to fix it? Or are you gonna do something about it? And I don't mean commit suicide and then go
No,
down in a
no, no,
blaze
no,
of
no, no.
glory.
But do you
No,
want to
no.
talk about this problem or do you want to fix this problem? Let me know
Physics.
which one it is.
Look. Um, like I said, we always had that beef about socialism. So I'm talking to my daughter in front of her mom, and I'm like, "Hey, baby, socialism is a bad idea. It's dumb." And then her mom was like, well, "You need to hear her out." I'm like, "No, I don't. No, I don't. It's my job to teach her. You don't want to teach her." I said, "Your friends are dumb." I said, I said, I said, I said, your teachers are teaching you how to be mediocre. So, so this way, somebody decides how much money you're going to make and how high you can get in life. Well, yeah, this, and then her mom chimes in, is like, well, don't you understand that it's the concept? It wasn't done right. So how come you can say that for socialism, but you can't say that for capitalism?
Yep.
I said,
Yep.
baby. So I
Preach.
said, babe, yeah, I said, baby. So what's wrong with capitalism? What's wrong with it? Well, the government's corrupt, and this, that, and other, and people this, that. I was like, okay, okay. So who decides who gets what under socialism? The government. She paused. Yeah, the government. So you want to give the government more power? So the government's fucked up now. It's gonna be more fucked up then.
Thank
And
you.
I said, yeah. I said, I explained to her why socialism hasn't worked for black people in Haiti, all these different places, and we beat those guys. So what you, I said, if you don't like the way this government is, get up off your ass and participate. That's why I talk to you about civics. That's why I talk to you about how this shit works. The whole problem is nobody wants to take that chance. And they're like, well, socialism? No, because the same people who are in charge now will be the same people in charge then, and they'll be doing it, fucking you the same way.
Yes.
They'll be making all the money, and you'll have,
Yes.
well, I'm
But
an
but
athlete, so I
here's the
get a
thing.
few,
All that
extra
sounds
bucks.
great. All that. Thank you for that little social studies dissertation you just gave, motherfucker. But do not forget that we live in a technocracy. All right. So all that's great in a democracy, but we are now in a technocracy, and we're moving towards a new feudalism. Therefore, all this shit talking about democracy versus socialism versus capitalism is great, and it's good to have these discussions, but you also have to understand that in a technocracy, a socialism would thrive because it would start that way and drift into communism
Mm.
because because we are being ruled by feudal lords with billions of dollars, okay, and they
Well,
don't want to
even then,
relinquish control.
don't leave out the part, like, because you broke it down so much, very eloquently, when you have all these people who are authorities on everything, because that's how it was under socialism. Everybody, they had all these engineers, all these scientists were in charge. If that fucked it up because they don't know how to be practical. And so that's why it's important to raise your kids to, like, hey, here's the deal, make the sacrifice. I get it. People in charge, our government, our senators, they're supposed to be good people. So here's the sacrifice. Don't fuck all these broads. Don't fuck all these dudes. Don't do all this fucked up shit and run for office. Be a stand up person. Read the damn laws and, like, hey, yeah, y'all need to check this out. Care about people enough to be a good governor, be a good senator, be a good congressman, and maybe be a good president in that order. That's the whole problem, is that these people get corrupted here by these businesses throwing money at them. So make, if you become part of the government, if you ever go that route, make that sacrifice and don't take that money. Make the sacrifice and recognize, you know what, people don't know what's really going on, and it's my job. And you know what, I get it. I can't sleep with a bunch of women. I can't have a bunch of kids out of wedlock if I'm going to be doing this. It That's it. No, what it is people figure that I'm gonna be famous for something else. I'm gonna be an athlete. I'm gonna sleep with all these women. I'm gonna be a singer. I'm gonna sleep with all these men. And so I don't want to take the chance to run for government and blow that shit. That's what it is. People don't want to make the sacrifice of the fact that they might lust for something, and then, you know what? If I'm a congressman, I probably can't do that. I hate to tell you, this congressman, that's some paid and play shit. They fucking everybody.
So
Didn't Kamala Harris fuck the mayor or the governor of fucking the mayor of San Francisco, and he's married, but now she's running for our vice president.
mhm.
Trust me, you can do the same shit. Do that shit.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mr. Rossman.
So did she? Well, it doesn't matter. I don't care. Listen. All right. So.
Don't get sucked in. I'm
Yeah,
not getting
no,
sucked in.
no,
Don't get
no,
sucked in.
no, no. I'm gonna stand at the edge of the volcano, but I'm not going down there. All right, so check it
No,
out. So now let's talk about spiritual sacrifices. And when I talk about spiritual sacrifice, I want to begin by talking about love and love as a spiritual force. And when you come into contact with children that are part of your life, and you see them experience birthdays and holidays, and you see the joy in their face, and you see how they light up, and it's a pure joy that you experienced as a child, you're moved. And sometimes you're moved beyond words, and you just soak it up, and you bask in the happiness and the joy that's created, and that's a love. And so therefore there may be a Christmas, there may be a birthday where you completely forgot about the timing of it. Not that you forgot the kid's birthday or you forgot
Mm-hmm.
Christmas is around the corner, but you get so caught up in your goals and the thing you want to accomplish that you're working towards something really, really fucking hard. And your lady comes, she says, she's like, "Hey, it's little man's birthday tomorrow." And you're like, "Fuck, fuck, I forgot. I know it's his birthday, but I forgot because I had all this shit going on. Damn it!" And I only got so much bread. And there was a time I was dating a woman, and this little boy took a shine to me, and I love him, still love him to this day. And it was his birthday, and there was something important that I really wanted to do for my career, something I needed to buy to pay for, and the timing. There was a window of opportunity, and I wanted to jump through this window and make this change. And I remember the last time I got him something for his birthday, how happy he was because I know what kids like. I pay attention to the shit because I remember being a child, so I know all the cool shit. Unlike moms, I didn't fucking know. You know what I'm saying? Because I was a kid, I was a little boy, so I know what little boys, like when it comes to toy shit. So she told me, and I was like, you know what? This shit that I want is gonna have to wait until this fucking opportunity comes around again because I gotta fucking use. It wasn't a lot of money. It was just a little bit that made a difference. I had to
But
use
he
this.
didn't want to let him down.
I did
He
not
didn't want
want
to
to
let him
let him
down.
down, and I went and I got him something for his birthday. And we went out and we had a good time, and he was just in heaven. And that made me feel great. That made my spirit smile. But that sacrifice was not a monetary sacrifice. That was one of the spiritual nature for me because I knew that like I had to forego my ego. I had to forego my desires. I had to forego like, these things I was thinking about for a second that's super important to me outside my relationship to that woman. I was like, fuck it. But this child is only going to be this age one time. And I want to see him happy. So I need to do this. And I did it. And like I feel great because of I know the fact that I knew the kid was happy, with his gift, and I was there for his birthday. So that was major.
Look, I go through that with my kids, but I got grandkids too, and like it's so crazy because my wife gets jealous in just the same way my ex gets jealous because my kids are so crazy about me. My grandkids are crazy about me, but like I'll be at work, and so they're used to seeing me go to work. They'll cry when they see me leave, whatever. So she'll call me on the phone. Let me talk to them. And I'm like, hey, this is hey Papa at work, Papa at work, and they just start Papa at work. Love you, Papa. Hang up, and she's like, how is it okay that he goes to work, but if
Because
I'm like,
they know that that's how you buy the toys.
well, some of it, but no, they're 4, 3, and 2. But no, what it is that they understand that he has to leave, but when he comes back, it's gonna be great. When he comes back, we're gonna go outside. They understand, like you gotta set that up. And the reason I do that is so later on, when it's time for them to be adults and make sacrifices and go to work and not be able to see their family all the time, they'll understand, like, okay, I'm doing this for the greater good. And that's what nobody wants to understand, the greater good. All they know is that little good, the little
That's the ego. That's the ego.
yes. ego, super ego, and the id, all that shit that you learn in psychology class in high school. That's that real shit. You got to know how to tame that shit, and you got to recognize which part of it is you, and which part of it is the greater good. And people don't want to do that shit. They don't want to tame the motherfucker. They don't want to be disciplined. They don't want to. And what's spiritual when you teach a kid something, when you give a kid something, we're not just talking about physically, but when you give them like, hey, when you teach them how to cast a fishing line and they catch their first fish, man, that shit is you can't recreate that any other. That's a high right there.
Yeah.
And so and that's spiritual. When you talk about spiritual, like when you gave that kid that gift, it wasn't just physical. It was I can count on Roscoe. Roscoe didn't let me down. It's one of those things. Like I said, it's not quantitative. You can't count that. You can't measure that. And so yeah, when I do stuff with my grandkids and my kids, and Papa this and Daddy that, shit, like you made an impact.
It's
You
funny,
know
man.
that.
Like, I would be over there, and like he would come, and he would come out of the back room, and I'll be sitting in the living room watching TV, and he wouldn't stand in front of me. He would stand to the side, kind of over my shoulder, but like feet, like 5 feet away, and he would just stare at me, and I would turn and I look at him like, I pat on the couch. Come over here, sit down, man. Come watch TV with me. And
That
little
activity,
that
just that
activity,
activity right
just that
there.
activity. Yes, because that has meaning because like there's a bond there that's forming, you know. And I listen, I may be watching something that's not suitable for kids. Okay, so I got to turn that bullshit off and put on a Rambo movie because that's suitable for the whole family. So, therefore, I got to sacrifice my little thing I was watching or whatever. Whatever. So what? It can wait. It can wait. Especially in this age where we can pause stuff and rewind it and
Yeah,
download
yeah,
it and
yeah,
all that
yeah.
bullshit. I can always come back to it.
Yeah, we didn't grow up like that.
No,
Yeah,
no, 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 no,
like
no. Hey boy, you interrupted a broadcast. Go back to your room.
that was a whooping, dude. That was a whooping. Would you stop talking?
Yes.
you,
Roots is on.
your
Shut up.
mom was on. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Your mom was on the phone. Your mom was watching. Yes, Roots is on. This is Kunta's part. Be quiet. So, like when I say give your kid something, I don't mean give them a prize. I mean like my youngest oldest daughter. This is a different relationship. She's the oldest one in that relationship. Like she loves anime. So I remember one time I was doing something in the basement. It was like 5:30 in the morning. So I'm in her mom's basement and I'm about to watch Voltron. And she wakes up and she comes out. Ren, is that you? I was like, okay, so you mean you thought somebody's breaking in and your little 4-year-old ass about to come? I'm like, oh, you hard as hell. Come on. So we down there watching Voltron. So now I got her hooked on all this different stuff. Now she hates Dragon Ball, but she loves like One Punch. But then she loves One Piece. I can't stand One Piece. But
Yeah.
that's because of that bonding with us. Yeah, she likes subtitles. She reads subtitles like on purpose. She watches it in Japanese. I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you, dude? You
Right.
nerd.
Right.
But but that's the stuff that, like I said, that's
She
the stuff
likes
me and
authenticity.
you, yeah, me and you were watching Transformers when Transformers was half-ass anime because you know which episodes was Japanese, which episodes were American. You knew we was already into that shit. Voltron, we was already into that shit. So, to pass that baton to somebody else and watch it flourish, like okay, she has her own likes. She doesn't like the exact same shit I like. You taught her. You gave her something. You gave her some kind of joy that she can take with her. When she's in college, she'll be watching that shit. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I
Okay.
dig it. I
So
I,
I
I
want to talk
watch
about
inappropriate shit.
I want to talk about something else related to spiritual. And I think it is a spiritual sacrifice. Tell me what you think about this. So I don't have any blood children right now, not yet, because of something my father said to me when I was a boy. My father used to say a lot of deep stuff. And he said this when I was about 7 years old. He said, if you don't do better than me in life, we might as well be born at the same time. I, I never, ever, ever stopped thinking about that. And it's part of the reason why I have these huge, monumental goals. And, every day I move closer to accomplishing these goals. And I haven't had any kids yet because I want to reach that place in life where I can build the castle and put the queen and the prince and the princess in the castle. And so,
Uh,
therefore, hold
I
on,
dig
brother.
it. I dig it. I dig
So,
it. No, I
so,
dig it.
so the thing is that there have been times where I could have had children with some very beautiful women, with some very intelligent women, but the time was not right. And I used spiritual discernment to make these decisions. This wasn't something I decided in my mind. This was spiritual knowledge I was using to make these decisions. And when I look back, I don't regret these decisions at all, but I do feel that it is something that a sacrifice by not having, you know, small ones around to hand down, this spiritual legacy that I received from my ancestors. And so,
Look,
hold on.
that's some deep shit.
So because of this, you know, I think about it from time to time, and it's not a sadness or anything like that. It's just I know that, I'm holding my fire. Don't shoot until you see the whites of their eyes. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm holding my fire. I'm holding my fire. And trust me, like I'm about to shoot the club up. Pretty soon here. But
Yeah, yeah, look
the
at that.
yes, but the thing is that like for me myself, that has been a spiritual sacrifice. What do you think?
Look, okay, it's simple. Nobody wants to have a conversation. I, like you, I have no biological children. I got about 6, 7 of these motherfuckers I take care of. But the bottom line was somebody offended me once. But one, your dad fucked you up. He gave you that little mental Rubik's cube. We might as well be born at the same time. I'm sure that's still fucking with me to this day. I never heard that until you said it. But what it is that I remember so many times when women find out I don't have kids, and these be friends of the woman I'm with or friends, and they're
Yeah.
like, "How can you not have kids?" I'm like, "Easy, shit. I'm not ready. I want to be
It's
married. Look, I
discipline.
don't.
Discipline.
I don't. Yes, I don't want to put the cart before the horse. Here's the problem with many of these relationships. Too many relationships are based on the birth of the child. A child should be a product of a healthy relationship. The
Yep.
relationship should not be a product of the child. And that's what happens when you have a kid and didn't have a relationship. I get it, you was fucking. So I'm like, and so she's like, well, how can you not have kids? And I'm like, easy, man. It's birth control, and this. And she goes,
Pull
it's not
out.
that easy.
Pull
You don't
up.
understand.
Pull up.
Pull up. How about code yellow? Code yellow. That's a different one. But and so nobody wants to make that sacrifice of this instant pleasure for, you know what, some long run shit. Well, there's so many different ways of birth control now. There's no excuse for that. And the fact is this, that by making that bond, like I said, you're going to have a relationship with somebody and you can't stand them all because of a kid. And the flip side, how many people abandon their kids? So I didn't want to be any of those. So I'm like, look, I'm gonna get married. We're gonna have kids, and shit gonna work out. If the shit don't work out, cool. But like I said, my kid is not going to be the product of an unhealthy relationship. My kid's going to be a product
Or a
like, hey,
broken
we came
home.
here, yeah. I don't want that, and so nobody wants nobody wants to make that sacrifice. Stop letting people dictate to you. What did Tupac say? Is not when to where to have a baby. Look, you can have sex and not have a baby, men and women, and that's the whole issue. Is that okay? How many of these women got coaxed into that shit? How many? A lot of these women were raped. They just don't want to admit the shit. The dude kept like Kobe. Hey, keep pushing, keep pushing, keep pushing. Nobody wants to admit that shit. How many of these dudes are like, hey, chick pulled the condom off. I said, yeah. I had chicks pull condoms off with their vaginas. Like nah, psych, I'm out. Or that shit breaks. They don't say shit. Like, you mean to tell me? Hey, first things first. Condom rubber is much better now than it was in '96. Let's put that shit out there. These niggas don't know what we had to go through back in the day. Like condoms would break, just touch them. Now, shit, a condom fucking stop a fucking bullet. That's some Kevlar shit, my nigga. So the idea of having a kid before you're ready is not necessary in this day and age. And I'm not talking about abortion. I'm talking about just being a heads up. Like, okay, I might be in a situation where sex could occur. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, being an adult about this shit, recognizing that this could happen. So yeah, I'm like you. I did not want a kid till I was married, ready to have a kid, and be able to provide for them the way that
But
I
hey,
wanted.
I
I
got a
wanted to.
whole lot of practice in. I gotta tell you.
Oh, that's the issue. You got a lot of people still want it. You got people still looking for your seed. You know what I'm saying? Like fish, fishing shit out of the trash can and shit. Hey, I've been through shit. I've been
Oh, bro,
through
like
like
I
yeah.
had propositions. I had chicks tell me that All
Folks
I gotta
calls the motherfucker.
all I gotta
Folks call
do
me.
is just spill the pancake batter, spill the Bisquick,
Yeah.
then she'll make the pancakes. I said, no, 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 because I don't want some little Wolverine motherfucker growing up looking for me, angry as shit because I wasn't there. I'm like, wait, hold on a second, wait a minute. No, that's not gonna happen. And then I don't want some other motherfucker raising my child. Oh, that's for me. That's the worst one. When another dude
Look,
raising your little boy, oh man, no
hey,
way.
I remember going to school. I was in college, and I remember I wouldn't trust these broads, so I would like take the condom with me and throw it off in the interstate. Like, look, ain't nobody getting this motherfucker. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, nobody's getting. It's no DNA evidence anywhere. You know what I'm saying? Like, fuck that shit. Look, what it is that nobody wants to make that sacrifice of no pleasure. I mean, you can have pleasure. You can do all that shit. You just don't have to have a kid from it. You don't have to sit here and lie about it either. How many of these cats like, oh man, she was fucking everybody, whatever. How many women like, okay, I want him. They say she's pregnant by the dude in eight. I'm not saying we all went through it. I'm saying that's happened to a lot of us. It's an awkward situation. But if you keep track of your seed and your DNA and you don't put yourself in them situations, then you ain't got to worry about it. Look, I remember in college, I was scared. Like these two chicks both told me they were pregnant at the same time. I prayed some babies away in college. Let's just be out there. Like, oh, Father in heaven, please, Father, please don't let this be not that crazy, but please, Father, don't let that bitch be pregnant. We look. The sacrifice is you got to have maturity and recognize that that's not the way to go, and maybe sometimes you need to leave, or sometimes you need to get to know somebody. And the fact is, if you got to know some of these people, you wouldn't fuck them. They are fucking terrible. They're train wrecks. A lot of these
Awful.
broads was train
Awful.
wrecks.
But so, in closing, in this discussion, we cover different ways we sacrifice. Sacrifices for the body, the mind, and the spirit. And from some of those, I'm sure you can relate to at least a few of them. But you'll see, reflections of your own struggle or your own plight or your own journey. And you will continue to struggle and you will continue to sacrifice. It is a natural part of life. It will continue because you will always desire things. You'll always want things, but your needs shall always remain the same. And you'll be forced to choose always. Now, it gets easier as you age and you get more life experience as to what you should sacrifice and is a sacrifice even necessary. But by the time you reach a certain age, you should be pretty good at like using your discernment to figure out what you're going to sacrifice and if you have to at all. So in closing, I do want to say that sacrifices will happen. It's up to you to choose what you're sacrificing for and how you can get the most of that sacrifice in the long term. What you got? Anything
I
else?
ain't got nothing to say. That's awesome. That was very poetic. Look, the whole point of seventh grade mustache is for us to share this stuff. Like sometimes you can get help from it, sometimes you can't. But knowing that sacrifice thing, you've never been with somebody too long to leave. So if you're in a situation where you think you're sacrificing too much, don't be afraid of leaving because you're a whole person. You can handle it.
And with that, we out. Peace.
Holla.